Former President Trump and his legal team are preparing for another potential indictment, this time in Georgia. Sources tell ABC News the Fulton County District Attorney is beginning to present her case to a grand jury today. DA Fani Willis appears to be wrapping up her 2.5-year investigation into the former president's alleged attempts to overturn the state's election results. Senior investigative reporter Aaron Katersky is in Atlanta, joining me now, along with executive editorial producer John Santucci here in New York and legal contributor and law professor at the University of Baltimore, Kimberly Wheely. Thank you all for joining us. Let's start with you, Aaron. You are outside the courthouse. Remind us all of how we got here and what the latest is on the timing of all of this.
This has been a 2.5-year investigation, Rhiannon, that began because of a phone call that former President Trump made to Brad Raffensperger, the Georgia Secretary of State, asking him to find 11,780 votes, the number that he would need to win. And that was just part of what the district attorney has come to believe was a broad-based 9-week pressure campaign on a number of Georgia officials involving not only the former president, but also others. In fact, when a special grand jury took a look at all the evidence in an advisory capacity, they recommended charges against more than a dozen people. So whatever indictment is returned could be the most expansive one yet involving the former president.
And Kim, let's bring you in now. You heard Aaron just say the most expansive yet. What charges do you expect to see if this indictment comes down?
Well, potentially election fraud or attempted election fraud under Georgia law. This is different from the Jack Smith stuff because we're talking about state crimes that cannot be pardoned, by the way, which is important. Conspiracy to engage in fraud, and then possibly racketeering charges. These are sort of, it's a crime relating to a group that essentially has multiple crimes in some kind of related capacity. It's used to go against gangs and mob bosses, that kind of thing. Very broad statute in in Georgia. And as Aaron indicated, I think we're going to see more defendants here, not just the former president and unindicted co-conspirators, but potentially additional named defendants in this indictment.
And John, let's bring you in now. Do you agree with that assessment? And how is Trump preparing? This isn't the first, second, even third. This is the fourth indictment we're talking about.
So to take the first part of that question, yes, I agree completely with Kim. I'll never disagree with Kim, but we absolutely believe that this will be a different situation compared to the first 3 acts of this show. We absolutely believe that Donald Trump, along with other individuals, will be charged because part of what RICO has to do a little bit is build out a conspiracy. And as we know, conspiracy takes more than one person to actually commit. As to how they're preparing, believe it or not, they've now gone through this 3 times, but this is the case that they're actually, from my sources, the most prepared for. And here's the reason. They've been dealing with this DA longer than anything else. The special counsel's only been around for better part of a year. We know what's happened in New York has been something that they've been knowing was possible. But this case, the special grand jury, more people going in, there has been such direct dialogue. This is the only case also, interestingly enough, of Team Trump. The legal team has been in place longer than any other lawyers. They are physically based in the state of Georgia. So honestly, out of all 4 cases, I think this one, Donald Trump and his team are probably the most prepared for.
Most prepared, but what are they doing at this moment right now, you think?
As they've done for every other time, waiting. They know it's coming because they've seen the people going in. They see the coverage like we are all watching it today with you, Rhiannon. They know that this is going to come. It's just a matter of when at this point.
And Aaron, you just heard it's likely Trump's not going to be the only name mentioned in this possible indictment. Who else are you looking out for?
Well, the efforts here in Georgia in about a 2-month period after the election in 2020 involved Rudy Giuliani, who came here 3 times to testify before the Georgia state legislature and try to convince lawmakers that there were irregularities despite a lack of evidence. It was here where he first pursued allegations about Dominion voting systems that became part of a defamation lawsuit involving Fox News that Dominion won. It was here where he first raised falsehoods about the conduct of a couple of poll workers, Shay Moss and Ruby Freeman, who later told the January 6th committee how their lives were upended. They were harassed. They were threatened, all because of falsehoods. There was Mark Meadows, the former president's chief of staff, who came here to personally have a look at an audit of the voting results. He was also on the call that Trump made to Brad Raffensperger. And then there are lesser-known Trump loyalists who were involved in gathering this slate of fake electors who would be prepared to say that Trump won the state when he actually lost it. So some names may be bold-faced, other names that may well appear in an indictment may be lesser known.
And John, how worried is Trump's team, or how worried should they be about some of these people turning on each other? We still have those unnamed co-conspirators in the Jack Smith indictment. Other names expected in Georgia, too, as we just mentioned.
Totally. And I think, let's compare the two in one sense. They're going to have a sense on the January 6th probe who it is, because as part of discovery with the special counsel, they will get those names. So they'll have a good idea who, but they have been trying to figure out who those 6 people are, the same way we've been doing here at ABC. As to this potential indictment down in Fulton County, Georgia, you don't know what you don't know, right? So until they actually see the documents, see the names, they're going to have to start figuring out. And here's the problem, right? Donald Trump in his orbit has gotten smaller and smaller and smaller over the years. So even of that group of 6 that we understand, some of those people have not had conversations with the former president since he left Washington in January of 2021. Of this bigger group, some of these people that were down in Georgia working the phones, doing things on behalf of Trump, were people that Trump and his team really never had long-term relationships with. And we all know at the end of the day, if you are facing severe consequences, if you are facing jail time, loyalty only gets you so far. And the last point I'd make, too, is that, look, Donald Trump, for a period in his life when he was president, was able to give people a pardon. 2 problems here. 1, he can't give people a pardon right now, and 2, this is a state case. So even if he was to become president, this is not pardon proof.
That is a good point you just made there. And Kim, bringing you back in, Trump is currently facing 3 other indictments. This would be the 4th. How is this one different from the other 3?
Well, as John just mentioned, it is a state law crime. Pardons at the federal level are completely off the table. And Donald Trump's team tried to get Fani Willis kicked off the case. He's really made more efforts in the preliminarily to have this case get thrown out. But I think Aaron's point is really important in terms of the story. There's the pre-January 6th planning. There's what happened on January 6th, and then what's happened after January 6th. And I think this case could bring in potential attempts to tamper with voting machines in an effort to to come up with evidence of fraud. That sort of is a whole different part of the storyline here than we've seen so far in the January 6th case. And it's very, very serious when you're talking about potentially getting into the systems that count votes. I think it's something people understand, that that's really off limits, and it's kind of intrinsically feels criminal, that shouldn't be touched.
All right, Kim, John, and Aaron, thank you all for breaking this all down for us today.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.